Welcome to On the Chain. This is Chip, and we have special guest host with us tonight, Mark Phillips. You know Mark from probably Crypto Twitter. What's up, Mark?
Hey, Chip. It's great to see you here. I hear Jeff's off goofing around somewhere.
Just tracking the elusive Yeti.
Crypto Twitter. What's up, Mark?
Hey, Chip.
You had to turn your speaker down a little bit. It's reverberating back all of a sudden out of nowhere. So, but tonight we're going to talk a little bit about
Crypto Twitter. What's up?
Yeah, we're reverberating back in there. So just hit mute for now, and then we'll get it solved on the other side.
But tonight we're going to talk a little bit about.
I keep hearing myself. We're echoing. You just gotta. It's coming on your speaker probably. So Ripple scores this huge, massive win, which we're going to get into a little bit. FTX continues to unravel. It seems a little bit crazy, like what's going on with that. That whole thing, it gets deeper and deeper and deeper. Then
a little bit crazy.
And of course, the crypto market's kind of weird. So, guys, we will. Let's do this. You ready? Let's go. Ready? Let's go. And if I can find the controls, come on, man.
We will.
Welcome to On the Chain.
Okay, so hopefully we have that worked out because I kept hearing myself feedback through there, and it could be because you have your speaker on. If it's, then it will feed back through the mic, and then it keeps like this weird loop going on, and that's kind of what I think what it was, but we'll see in a second. And this is what's weird is actually we get on ahead of time so we can check this stuff out, but it's happened to me, it's happened to Jeff, it's happened to guests. Everything's fine. You go live, and all of a sudden everything goes crazy. Check this stuff out. But it's happened to me. And then I hear myself playing through there again, which is odd. Do you have headphones, Mark, by chance? You can plug in? All right, Mark's going to get that worked out. He's going to throw some headphones on. I'm going to just go ahead and we're going to get started. He'll come on here. We'll figure everything out. Guys, what's going on? Welcome to On the Chain. And if it's your first time here, you know what to do? Subscribe. Go ahead and click that bell notifier. That way you notify anytime we go live. And also, too, want to drop where you're from. If you're on the rewatch, drop where you're from. The country and also the city. And we always like to see where everyone's coming in from. What's going on, Blue Crew? Rye Guy says, and there's so much to unpack tonight. I think what we'll do is we'll start it off on a positive. And because the markets are kind of burning down a little bit right now, the markets are a little bit, let's see, I woke up red. I was like, we had that little bit of green the other day, but I think it's going to all be okay. If you guys saw the thumbnail, yeah, that's that meme. Everything's going to be okay. Everything is fine. Let's bring Mark back in. Mark?
I think it's going to all be okay. If you guys saw the thumbnail.
Why are we, do you guys hear that echo too, or is it just me?
Everything is going to be okay.
I can hear it. I can hear the echo, but I had my mic muted.
Okay, so I don't hear it now. Guys, do you guys hear that in the chat? Ontario's in the house. Buenos Aires, Chicagoland. What's up, Jim D? Got Australia in the house. Oz Crypto's in the house. Turned off keys in the house. Yeah, I don't know. Turn to keys in the house. Yeah, welcome, guys. Hello, TC peeps. I don't know why it's feeding back. Something's feeding back. And I don't know. Do you guys hear that? Let me know in the chat. Are you guys hearing that too? Because I'm hearing it. I'm hearing myself delayed. Let me know if you hear that. Michigan's in the house. New York. What's going on? Yeah, you guys were hearing that echo. Okay, Satya, appreciate that. Kumar, appreciate that. There's some kind of a weird echo going in, and I'm wondering what's causing that exactly, because it wasn't not doing that when Mark and I first jumped on. So, yeah, we're good now, Crypto G, because I have it muted. But let's jump into some things here. Mark's going to work on getting that set up, but it sounds like it might be just coming back in through his side over there, playing through maybe in his system. We'll find out what happens there. But there's a couple good things happening. And again, this is a story from the other day, but I think it's so newsworthy that I think we should jump into it. And again, we don't broadcast every day, so we're not always going to be doing that. How's that now, Mark? Go ahead and unmute yourself. Let's see. Let's check that out. Let's check you out. If you go ahead and unmute yourself. You're muted right now. So click unmute.
Test 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, now am I hearing myself? All right, we have liftoff. We have liftoff. The Eagle has landed. We are in good shape. We got it worked out. The funny part about that, Mark, is it didn't happen the few minutes you and I spent together prior to going live. which would happen. We don't use OBS. OBS is banned in the OTC studio. We never use OBS. We use none other than StreamYard. We don't get promoted to do it. But I will tell you, after trying every damn thing to go live, StreamYard is the absolute best. I know a lot of other people use other stuff, but for ease of use, it's fantastic. So, all right, we're all good now. We got the from our official on the chain producer, Hans Loaded, said all good now, except that Mark just disappeared off the screen. So there he goes.
I was just seeing if you were paying attention.
Man, there's a lot going on. There's a lot to unravel here tonight, man.
It's burning down.
It's burning down. You know, it was funny. Mark and I were chatting, and I said, "Hey, you got any ideas for thumbnails tonight?" He goes, "Oh, my background is a desolate, a burned down sort of a wasteland." And that's what kind of inspired the ideas for tonight's thumbnail. Like the everything is fine meme. Don't worry, it's all fine. But really want to talk about this and highlight this. Mark, I want to get your thoughts on this, but a win for financial inclusion in Africa. And this is so MFS Africa, a leading fintech with the largest mobile money footprint in Africa, partnered with Ripple to streamline real-time payments for the customers across 35 countries. Now, Mark, I'm not an expert on Africa, but 35 countries would seem to be the majority of Africa, no?
Maybe half, a little over
Okay,
half.
so half.
There's a lot. There's a lot, 50-ish countries, I think, in Africa. One of the cool things is with Africa is it's kind of like with South Korea, where they didn't have to go to the landline dial-up modem route when the internet was born.
Yeah.
Because they didn't have all that infrastructure, they went straight to mobile and high speed mobile. And I think Africa is going to do something similar with the payments infrastructure, because cell phones are way more prevalent than landlines in Africa, as I understand it. And so if you can figure out how to move money, how to do business on a mobile device, even a stripped down basic mobile device, that's going to unlock financial inclusion and financial business opportunities for people across the continent. I think it's huge. It's absolutely huge.
Yeah, that's a good insight too. You're right. And, you know, I remember early 2000s being over in the Netherlands staying at a friend, and they went right to fiber. They bypassed the dial-up and went right to fiber. And I'm like, how do you have this kind of throughput? It was like having everybody had their own T1 line, which was the going thing. So it is interesting about technology. Sometimes leapfrogging does give you a distinct advantage.
Yeah, it really does. You know, it's funny. Swell started in London today, and I was catching little bits and pieces that were being tweeted out from that. I'm looking forward to seeing the videos when they come out. Apparently, Brad was talking about they're now live with ODL on 6 continents, which is pretty amazing. At some point, it will probably be 7 continents.
I wonder what that 7th continent is. I have a feeling where they're not located.
Probably where they're not located, probably where you need a parka. But several of them, David Schwartz and others in the last few years, have made trips there. So who knows?
Well,
and then
you can make trips to the outer
space.
Well, because of the treaty, you can't go anywhere near. You're kind of just like, you get to see the ice wall. You don't really get to see much else. You can't be like, by the way, that's another show altogether. I've been down this rabbit hole, and this is the most fascinating rabbit hole that I've been down recently. But yeah, I mean, but I guess there's not too many inhabitants there. So it'll be interesting to see how that works out. What other things did you kind of pull out of Swell today? Because I hate that you don't have a chance to watch it. I haven't seen many videos on Twitter.
No, I haven't seen any other than, you know, just sort of the stage and a bunch of seats and people, you know, rapidly paying attention to whoever's talking on stage. Apparently, Cindy Young led a conversation. I know Nick Burafedo from Link 2 was able to hook up with Brad and some other folks. So other than the headlines that have come out, who knows? This one partnership, I think, is a big one. But you know, every year they do Swell and they roll out all these new partnerships and new little tidbits of information. Their track record is just spectacular. I don't want to jinx it, since we started out talking about what a dumpster fire the rest of the space is.
Dumpster fire.
hopefully these guys are a little bit insulated. I did a tweet a few days ago when it occurred to me that as much as I despise Jay Clayton and Gary Gensler for filing the lawsuit against Ripple and indirectly the rest of us, and then continuing that lawsuit, they might have actually done us a huge favor in that because XRP got delisted from most of the U.S. exchanges, from a long view, they ended up insulating us from this contagion as the rest of the dumpster burns to the ground.
Yeah, and in a weird way, that turned out to be a blessing in disguise, as you will. Yeah, I remember seeing that tweet, and I was like, really cool. I was like, yeah, you know what? That's a really good observation because something we were angry about turned out to be a good thing, and it could have been a lot worse. I mean,
I'm still angry about it. Look, I can see the silver lining and still be butthurt over the whole thing.
I think we all can be. I saw this. Toby Burton said, "Hi everyone watching on the chain, awaiting Gary's new show on the Chain Gang." So
I think Rep Emmer is already got the invitations to several hearings already made out and probably in the mail.
Well, that new day is coming. I mean, that new day is here. I mean, it's going to be here in early January when the new Congress takes over. And it was weird. I got an alert on my phone, and they're like, it's been confirmed that they took the House. And I was like, didn't that happen a couple of days ago? Am I losing my mind, or did that happen a few days ago? By the way, if everyone can see the cool shirt you're wearing, just looks like a random sort of a Hawaiian shirt. But if you might just kind of like get up and show these, look at this, huh? That's badass right there, huh?
It's so obnoxious. My dad got it for me for my birthday a couple of years ago, and he thought it was funny. I thought it was funny. So it's obnoxious enough to wear online.
Oh man, I love that. That is like so. Have you worn that anywhere? Like you show up in public with that shirt on? I mean, because I can see that being a lot of fun.
Yeah, but you got to have your running shoes on because somebody's going to whip your butt. It's
someone will
that
come
bad.
after you.
Oh yeah, it's that bad.
All right, hang on one second. Let me just do something right here. Jeff's pinging me here. I think Jeff's going to try to join us. Let me see if I can get him on here. Go ahead. Talk about the next big thing that's going on at Swell.
Ooh, I have no idea. I haven't even seen the agenda lately. Let's take
Nothing?
a quick look.
Yeah, let's take a quick look. I was just messaging Jeff right there, but okay, so as we go, this is a pretty interesting one too. Oz Crypto saying in Africa, less than a third of the people have proper drainage, 50% of the population live in areas without roads, and 63% have access to piped water, yet 93% of Americans have mobile service. So, and here we go from the frozen tundra. I believe we have Jeff is joining us now. Jeff, what's up, buddy? How are you?
What's going on?
You in Antarctica?
Yeah, he's in Antarctica. We heard Antarctica it's our conversation about Antarctica.
Now I can hear you.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, but now you're sideways.
Can't hear me?
I hear you. Yeah.
Hang on a second.
All right. Let me just
Can't
go
hear
ahead
anything.
All right. Let me just mute you for a second here.
Test.
I hear you.
For some reason I can't hear you.
Okay. Turn your volume up.
Let me see.
I can hear you.
Ditch the Android and get yourself a fantastic.
All right. Can you hear me now?
Perfect. Yeah. Now you hear us?
All right. Sweet. Yeah. What's going on? Man, it's cold here in Florida.
Yeah. Well, Florida looks a little colder these days. So, man, it's like all of a sudden we got this cold streak in, and we're just talking about this new big kind of win for Ripple here. And I wanted to throw this back up. There's one other thing I want to highlight here, which was Ripple's on-demand liquidity. It talks a little bit. So according to the UN, Africa boasts a $2.7 trillion market opportunity, the largest driver of business growth worldwide, and innovative digital payment rails can make this a reality. And man, this is it's kind of like under the radar a little bit, but this is a huge thing. Jeff, Ripple did a deal with one of the largest providers of
FTX.
No. No, man, but MFSA Africa. and they're partnered with 35 countries. So, did
Uh,
anybody drop in how many countries are in Africa? Can somebody just Google that? I want to know. Like, I have to know now how many countries. And I'll put this
There's
up
a
real
couple.
quick too. Colin Benson, thank you for the support. He says, punch that like button as if Gary Gensler's nose. There you go. Or his throat, because you can throw punch him a little bit too. You know, bullies need to get popped in order to back the F up. There you go.
There
Thank
you
you for
go.
that, Colin. Appreciate that.
54
Three-
countries.
Okay,
54.
54. You were so right. You were so close, Mark. You said 50.
Well, I had to
Yeah.
phone a friend.
Well, that'll happen. Well, Jeff was probably
wasn't
giving that info in the
57.
background. Yeah, let's not get into that. Okay, so
I gotta put my gloves on. Apparently 34 degrees is cold.
or 52, so that'll happen as well. So let's go ahead and remove this, and let's talk about some of these other ones here. Let's see. So I want to get into this. Obviously, we talk a lot about FTX, but this is John Deaton, and John Deaton said what Binance's role. In other words, like this is about the Binance's role in the FTX. Binance's role, FTX collapsed because Sam Bankman-Fried is a criminal. Now, this is John Deaton, a tweet he put out, who engaged in fraud, committed insider trading, stole people's money. Did they investigate Luna and the role that possibly Sam Bankman-Fried had on it? It looks like 40 million in donations buys you some excuses. Jeff, thoughts on that?
Man, I'll tell you what, it bought them a lot of excuses. It got them an election. What's interesting is that Sam Bankman-Fried today, he was in a Twitter conversation, and he said that he regrets filing for bankruptcy. Well, it's getting to the point of ridiculousness.
Doesn't everybody who's ever filed up for bankruptcy regret it?
Yes.
Yeah. Well,
At some
especially when
point.
you go from $14 billion down to zero, and you destroy a major company, potentially major company. Maybe it was all a Ponzi fraud anyways, right from the beginning.
Well, and the contagion as it starts to play out with other people's leverage and vulnerability starting to show up. What's the old saying? When the tide goes out, you see who's swimming without their trunks on.
Right.
So yeah, we're not done seeing the contagion, I'm afraid.
No, yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, it's kind of just the beginning. But the ramification here is pretty massive, as it begins to disrupt and kind of unravel some of the things that are happening on a political level as well. Here in this country, when one major party benefited. I think everybody's heard that Sam's brother worked at the Financial Services Committee. The question is, I'm not sure exactly who he worked for. I'm sure it's public knowledge somewhere out there. Maybe someone has the information on that, but somehow his whole family was interconnected to this thing.
Yeah, it was a pretty big thing. So John goes on to say, Deaton says that CZ publicly disclosed that he was unloading the FTT and then gave his reasons by disclosing it publicly. He heard his own book, and it isn't about defending CZ. It's about our Congress and making sure they focus on the true cause and not let the narrative be manipulated. So there it is. But what was amazing about this was, it's funny because, Elon Musk took over and two tweets took down FTX. Okay. The fact that they were going to unload the FTT token, two tweets. And then there was that, equivalent of a bank run, an exchange run, everybody running and then hitting that liquidity problem. But Mark, aren't there other entities out there that also struggle with liquidity if there would be some kind of a run, let's say on a bank?
Sure. Any of them that are leveraged. So anybody who's doing lending, anybody who is basically anybody who's leveraged is at risk. That's why the old saying, not your keys, not your crypto, and don't trust anybody. I think there's a lot of truth in that maybe it's trust but verify. So there are some of the platforms that are as transparent as they possibly can be. Uphold, I'll use as an example, where you can go on and look real time at what their assets that they're holding are and compare them to, what their customer accounts are. And they're always at least a minimum of 100%. And so that's now you gotta trust that what they're showing is real. And so, that's where auditors come in and all that. But, auditors don't catch everything either. I think there was a big scandal when the Bernie Madoff Ponzi unraveled because he had been audited recently and passed the audit. So,
you can always figure out, there's always a way to do that. And which one was that? I wanted to play. Oh, here we go, right here. So I want to play this video here. This is interesting. This is the one you found, Mark. And this is the, hang on a second, let me put this up
I'll
here.
give you every.
So this is Hussein Faraj. He was on with Ben Armstrong, BitBoyCrypto. And interestingly enough, he claims, again, we don't know for sure, but he claims he was defrauded by both FTX and Alameda, what is it, Capital? Alameda Trading? What is it? There's some other thing. The trading arm of FTX, Alameda something. It's not
Alameda.
Capital. It's Alameda. Okay, so here it is. Let's listen in on this, and this is interesting. And what we're also going to see in this too was the whistleblower. I believe it's on this clip here for Bernie Madoff. 8 years, 5 different times. Basically blew the whistle, and the SEC was doing their thing, not protecting investors. Here we go.
I'll give you everything that's already out there. We have a lot more. All right. So we've also contacted the SEC many times. SEC never got back to us. Months ago, not now. No, we're contacting the SEC to tell them this is they're trading fake coins.
How many times did you send material to the SEC?
May 2000, October 2001, October, November, and December 2005, then again June 2007, and finally April 2008. So 5 separate SEC submissions.
Look at that. So 5 different times. And then you have on this clip right here, you have Hussein Faraj, who's also talking about they've reached out to the SEC. And they always talk about how interested they are in protecting the investor. But yet when you got a guy reaching out, blowing the whistle and talking to Bernie Madoff running a Ponzi scheme for 8 years, 5 different submissions, it got 0 coverage. I mean, how ridiculous is that, Jeff?
It's absurd. I mean, you begin to see a kind of a scenario playing out here, right? It keeps repeating itself over and over and over again. So you wonder what the SEC is actually doing, so it throws up a big question mark, now as we come down to it once again, are they on the side of the investors or do they have an ulterior motive? But love to hear what Mark has to say about that. Mark, by the way, man, your beard is looking pretty amazing.
That's what I said earlier.
Christmas is coming up. I think my 4th career is I'm going to start moonlighting as Santa.
Right.
Apparently
Jeff,
there's money in that.
Jeff, there's something really amazing that you haven't seen. But if you see Mark's it looks like a Hawaiian shirt like from the top, but check this out. There it is. That's awesome.
That's amazing.
Oh Lord, what were we talking about?
I feel like we're talking to Kris Kringle.
Kris Kringle, yeah, Kris Kringle. Let's see. I'll tell you what. I've been good this year, Chris. Things have been rough. My bag's looking weak. What are you going to bring me, man? Hopefully not coal. I might need coal to heat the place, but maybe for Jeff to heat his place up. So.
I need some heat out here.
I would like a settlement. How about that? A settlement or a summary judgment?
Judgment. Can we have a judgment?
Let's get a judgment.
I want a steak. So we need a judgment.
Yeah.
Nick Biafuro and
bone and ribeye, preferably.
And Coining 203, Alex. We have that ongoing bet with them. They say settlement. We say no settlement, judgment or something else. And if it's a settlement, then we're buying them a steak dinner. And if it's the other way around, then they're buying us a steak dinner. So.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. No matter either way, we get the steak dinner. It's getting
I was to say, and not only that, but I would rather whatever happens quicker. Let's go with that option. There's one bet I'd love to lose. Like if we get a settlement tomorrow, I'd be like, that was the best, most fun bet that I ever lost, and be happy about it.
Sure. Either way, you win. You get the steak. You get the steak. You also get regulatory clarity, which allows, one way or another, we're past the lawsuit, and that's the cloud, right?
Yeah.
Somebody made the point the other day that when the SEC goes after a company, the penalty, whatever the payment is, whatever the fine is, whatever the judgment or the settlement payment is not, that's not the penalty. The penalty is the process. It's taking you, dragging them through years of, of legal expense and hassle and chilling effect. If you're publicly traded, it hurts your stock. If you're, if you're private, you're burning through whatever capital you've got and eating up your runway.
Yeah. And what has Ripple
that's
spent?
the leverage. Do what?
What has Ripple spent to date? 150 million. It must be more than that by now.
Yeah, the last I heard was over 100 million. But
Huh.
Brad said the other day, he said, look, we got no debt and we got $1 billion cash. So I don't think they're worried about running out of cash.
Right.
But at the same time, you've got 2 years of business development in the US that's been delayed. And it's a highly competitive market. And, because it's so new, whoever's first out of the gate building that momentum and building that business has a distinct advantage. You go back to VHS versus Betamax. Whoever can build up that critical mass wins, and it doesn't matter really who has the better tech. Right. Betamax was arguably the better tech.
I had it. Sony.
Right. But they did not build the critical mass. And so, 99% of the world used VHS for years.
But also too, because when you're the sole provider, if you don't license it, same thing happened to Apple. Apple's going to be, we're going to build the machines ourselves. And meanwhile, you had the mass distribution of, so that's also another thing. And I do see that different a little bit in the crypto market. So you have Ripple that really builds software for a very specific use case. But what's great about it, using a decentralized asset, there's multiple type of use cases for it.
Hence all the amicus briefs.
Right, exactly. And thank God for that. Jim D said, well, what the hell are we supposed to do if all these exchanges go out of business? How do we get our money off ramped to the banks?
Why do you want to get your money off ramp to the banks? Think about it. If XRP gets adoption, either through RippleNet or, other use cases that these other independent companies are building on the XRP ledger, that drives up the value of XRP. Why do you necessarily want to cash out to a bank? I mean, there are ways that you can spend it directly with a debit card. There will be ways that you can let it, play in the ODL market and earn its own way, and you just live off that. My personal plans, I don't plan to sell anything that I don't have to, and not cash out into a fiat currency if I don't have to.
Yeah, that's a solid point. What do you think, Chip?
I'm just curious. I kind of feel like at some point, as adoption increases, you're going to be able to pay in XRP, right? So part of the thing is that we're using legacy thinking. We're looking at like, how do I get this value that's on a ledger somewhere or a cold storage wallet, and how do I get to use that? Well, there's other ways. There's going to be other ways that'll surface to use that. I think you're probably closer to the truth, Mark, is like as adoption happens, the same way you can buy things with Bitcoin right now, it takes a little bit longer, but at some point, everybody will offer the opportunity to purchase with, I would say, probably the top 25 cryptos, right? And so XRP will be right in there. Whatever that looks like, I think we just have to change. There's a paradigm shift that has to happen with our thinking, because we still talk about when we look at something on a web screen, we say it's above the fold. Well, that worked with newspapers. It was above the fold of a newspaper. But we always have this legacy thinking as we go forward with technology. We always tie it back to something we knew from before. I look at, when you're in high school, you had your high school friends. There's one high school friend that reminded you of a kid you knew in middle school. Then when you get to college, there's a kid or somebody or a girl that reminded you of somebody from, we always tie it back to something from before. So I think, and again, it would be better to get there quicker, and then we don't have that issue anymore. And then the exchange is just simply a means to purchase it. But that's going to change. And, with decentralized exchanges.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And so my original answer was a little bit flippant and sarcastic. I didn't mean it to come off that way.
Oh, it wasn't flippant. I like
well, no, I really don't intend to sell or exchange anything that I don't have to. But I also think that we won't have to, that the exchanges will be regulated, and once it becomes truly apparent that this is the way things are going, the existing financial institutions will adopt crypto. So, right now we're all running around with our hardware wallets, and and it's a big pain in the butt, and there's a large learning curve that keeps most people out from doing that. At some point in the not too distant future, there will be custody solutions that will be white labeled and offered to the banks and the credit unions and so forth, so that you can have your crypto right next to your dollars in your savings account or checking account or whatever on your bank app, and they will be, I think, just as safe and probably maybe hopefully insured, like with FDIC type insurance, and the same banking regulations, KYC, AML, auditing, all that stuff. And we won't have to be worried about, how do I get it off the ledger? Do I lose the ledger or my Trezor or whatever? And so you'll be able to use them, spend them, store them just as easy as you do dollars.
Cannot wait. Guys, I wanted to put this up in the chat. We have an OG in the house. The Crypto Camper says, buy the Yeti coin.
The Yeti coin.
And by
my goodness.
Jeff and I, we used to talk about the Yeti coin all the time. At some point, we might have to do it, but it'll have to be an offshore project, I'm afraid, Jeff.
At this rate.
When we bring the Yeti,
anything cool has to be offshore.
And also, I want to put this comment up. Legendary said, Ripple's been deliberately handicapped by the SEC. The politicians and regulators and bank accounts basically tell the story, follow the money, because these people are paid for. And it's so funny. And the weird thing about it is we've been told that you're a conspiracy theorist, and John Deaton's been called that online, and you're a conspiracy theorist. And the difference between a conspiracy theorist and the truth seems like it's a couple days now. It used to be 6 months, used to be a couple weeks, and now it seems like it's basically getting down to 2 days.
Just because you have a theory and it involves a conspiracy doesn't mean it's not true. And so when the facts start lining up and it starts becoming apparent that there is a there, it's no longer a theory. It's just a conspiracy.
That's right.
So there's enough dots that paint a really clear picture around, what's happened to Ripple, what's happened to the larger crypto space, that there are multiple conspiracies that are pretty obvious at this point. Now, do we know everything? Of course not. I'm sure there's more, and who knows how deep the rabbit holes go. But just looking at the Ripple case, it's pretty obvious it was used as a weapon. It's pretty obvious that somebody with some influence and a vested interest in slowing down, if not knocking out Ripple, at the very least, though, slowing them down, was behind this. And I think eventually that will come out. I also believe that eventually it won't matter. That the company is strong enough, the product is strong enough, their partnerships globally are so far reaching and so ingrained that it will have slowed down the timeline, but ultimately it won't matter.
So that's an interesting theory, Mark. And as you look at what the SEC has done, there's always additional power brokers out there, which is what we've talked about for a long time, that are operating, and there's a bigger battle being waged. But if we look at what you're mentioning with Ripple, and then we draw a direct comparative with FTX. FTX was almost like it was a corrupt entity, put in place, for two different things. One, potentially to disrupt, slow down, or try to dismantle the crypto industry. And number two was to raise tons of money and inject it into one party, political party in the United States as another disruptor.
Yeah,
not 100% sure that that's the case, but that's what it looks like.
Well, let me also remind you, Jeff, that Mitch McConnell got $2.5 million of that jackpot, and that's the one we know about.
Right.
But and also too, I think what was really interesting was on the balance sheet there was a very specific thing that said name lose. I'm not going to get into it because it's very tricky on this channel, but it basically had a political figure and then the word lose after, and that was also on it. But I'm gonna bring something up here, Mark. I hope this doesn't embarrass you too much, but I want to bring this up here because Sir John is saying something really key here. Sir John from Croatia said, greetings and big thanks to Mark for his participation in my country's peace and independent process.
Yeah, we've had some really great. Hey, Sir John, it's great to see you, brother. We've had some really great offline conversations. I worked on the Balkan peace talks back in the 90s, and then went to Croatia and Bosnia as part of the NATO implementation force afterwards. I tell you what, if you ever get to go to Croatia, absolutely do it. It is a beautiful country. The people are wonderful. The food's great.
The beer.
It's all wonderful. Yeah. So,
Mark,
yeah.
did you know that Sir John is a musician and a recorded artist?
No, I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well,
I
here
think
he is right here.
Chip might have him.
I love it.
And there's the acapella version too.
Lily Marlin.
There you go.
Love it.
There you go. But Sir John is a great friend of the channel, I have to say, you know, and also too, somebody we haven't seen in a long time, which is great. And I want to put this up because we always want to recognize the people who were with us at the beginning. We're talking the first 100 subs. That was Crypto Camper. He says, I'm proud of you, Jeff and Chip. You've done well with the channel. If it hadn't been for your support and that early support kicking it off, can't thank you enough for that. So it's great to see you. Thank you for popping in. It's really cool. An old friend of the channel. Oh, we're talking about the original OG here, man. That's like big time. Guys, can we transition a little bit because we're on this theme of burning things down tonight. So he'll be back. He'll come back.
We lost him.
We had this little thing going, but I'm gonna go ahead and put this up as soon as he comes back in here, and I want to see if he can do this. Oz Crypto says he was there. I'm not sure where that was. Oh, in Croatia. Unfortunately, I was in Croatia for one day, but I was heading down to Montenegro, and I spent like 6 days in Montenegro.
Oh, Montenegro.
But, here we go, right here. There he is, back again.
There he is.
with the upside down world here. But let's listen in on this video here because this is something here.
If SPF knocked on your door again and said, look, I failed in my last venture. I have a new crypto venture. I need money. Would you back him?
That's a great question. No one's asked me.
Okay, so that's Rand Neuner, and he is asking Kevin O'Leary, better known as Mr. Wonderful on Shark Tank, that if SPF knocked at his door, Sam Bankman-Fried, would you back him? And look at, he's just shocked at the beginning, but let's listen to what he says here.
Yeah. I think we can all admit, you can love him or hate him given what's happened, but he was one of the most brilliant traders in the crypto universe. He also built one of the most robust platforms. We used FTX actively. It was a very robust platform that allowed us to get information on a compliant basis. So I really like what he built.
Would you back him?
The answer would be yes.
All right, who wants to weigh in first on that
one? Mark.
Go ahead, Mark.
All right, so when people do things that are counterintuitive, my go-to question to try to figure it out is follow the money.
Mm-hmm.
And if you think about where Kevin O'Leary's money was and where there might be some risk, he was invested in, and he was also a promoter of, I believe, FTX.
It was.
Well, I saw a tweet today. Somebody was, I think he was doing that, but I think he was also trying to protect himself because I saw a tweet today. Not sure who posted it, but it was about a class action lawsuit having been filed against the celebrity endorsers of FTX. And so if you think you're going to be sued because you promoted this platform and you're asked that question, you can't say, no, I wouldn't invest because it was a fraud. You have to say yes. You have to say, look, the guy's smart. He's a brilliant, investor. They had a robust platform, all that. You have to pretend as if you thought it was, legitimate.
Huh.
There you go. That's it. Exactly.
That's
Class
good.
action suit filed against Tom Brady, NFL quarterback Larry David, who did that famous Super Bowl commercial. Nah, I wouldn't get into crypto. They did a whole series throughout the time of getting into crypto. So
Yep.
And then others who endorse. Now this seems like a frivolous lawsuit.
That's a really difficult one. Yeah.
So Kevin O'Leary can't really say if you think it would open you up for this kind of lawsuit. You can't really go, oh no, I think it was, terrible and a big fraud. And, I regret that I had anything to do with it, because you might as well get out your checkbook right now.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Well, the funny part about it is let's ask him in 6 months. Hey, so when I call him, his name's Neuner. I call him neutered because he basically has been neutered. He's a Bitcoin maxi, and he goes on. He's been on shows trying to explain his maxiism, and it sounds really dumb. And he's really gotten Ripple wrong. So it's like, I don't know how he's on. I don't know how half these people are on television. Jeff and I are still waiting for that call from Fox Business to do a crypto show. Have a little laugh, have some guests on, but we might have to have SBF on here because it seems like he has a lot of time on his hands. That's what Jeff was telling me earlier today.
That'd be a great idea. How much fun would that be?
Can you imagine that? I mean, well, Jeff, we've had other people that have been notorious as well. So it's
we'll bring them all on.
You remember the time we were supposed to have what's his name, the one that ended up the crypto dude? What was his name? That he didn't show up. He
was on an island somewhere. Yeah, we talked to his wife.
On an island somewhere. Yeah, we talked to his wife, and we couldn't get him on, and then he turned up
dead.
McAfee.
McAfee.
John McAfee stood us up on a. We worked hard to get him on the channel, and then got the thing from his wife, and some emergency happened, or he was hiding on the run from the police. Nobody knows.
Yeah.
And then we never rescheduled it. We never got him on the show. Next thing you know, he turns up dead or missing or whatever the official story is.
Broadcasting from his Faraday cage.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, that's
the tinfoil room.
Cool, yeah, that was kind of a cool thing. I'm like, all right, put a lot of thought into that. I have to say that is very, very on the cool side of things.
Hey, I hate to do this. My battery's running low, and I'm gonna have to jump out. But I was glad to be here with Simon and Chris Kringle.
Jeff, it's good seeing you.
It was great seeing you too.
Go get one.
All right, and we'll see you on the next one.
Get an iPhone. The batteries last longer.
This one's been going all day. All right.
All right. See ya. All right. So we're back here. We are back, and let's see. Let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and it's cool because we have a couple of these videos. There's another one that I wanted to play here. Let's see. This was 3 Arrows Capital co-founder Kyle Davies, and they asked him a pretty important question, and it's probably one that a lot of people would like to know.
It's Becky. I take it you're not in Bali because of the G20. Are you there because Indonesia is one of 7 countries that won't extradite you back to the United States?
No.
I mean, what would you say, Mark? What would you say? Would you just be like, yeah, actually, it's one of the countries that doesn't have an extradition treaty, but
again, what's he supposed to say? Nope. That's totally not why I'm there.
Hell no. But he does have a good reason if it's true or not. But he does say, let's listen in.
For one, I haven't lived in the United States for like a decade. I've been in Asia. But for two, no, it's just a good place to be. One, I
But who's expecting that? This is the thing when you do live shots like this, you don't necessarily always know what the questions are going to be, and then they throw that and smash them right in the face with it. By the way, are you in Bali because there's a non-extradition treaty there, one of 7 countries, or whatever it is?
Yeah.
So imagine they have this guy in as an expert from 3 Arrows Capital, right? And he's an expert on crypto and FTX bankruptcy, and then they smash him in the face with a frying pan and ask him what he's doing in Bali. But also, too, I mean, it seems like everybody had to go offshore because it's just there's no clarity. So what do you expect to happen?
Where's Ripple? And where are the Ripple executives?
Well,
in
right
the US.
now,
well, they're at their conference in London, but
they didn't have that in the US this year, did they?
No, but they live in the US. The company is headquartered in the US. They just
for now.
Well, Yeah, I mean, and they've said, look, if the U.S. doesn't get its act together in terms of clear regulations, then they might be forced to go elsewhere. But Brad's also said they're an American company and they're proud to be an American company, and they don't want to leave. And I take him at his word.
Oh yeah, no
But
doubt.
but you can kind of interpret people's motivations. You can't ever really know somebody's true motivations, but you can interpret based on what they do. And if you have companies that are headquartered offshore, that the executives live offshore, that the money is parked offshore, their operations are offshore, they're doing it for a reason. It might be because it's too, there's not enough clarity in the U.S., or it might be because there aren't extradition treaties wherever you happen to live.
It's good. I'm gonna have to investigate that a little further.
Yeah, I'm. The fact that Ripple is headquartered in San Francisco, the fact that Uphold is there, not too far from them,
Yeah.
Link to as well. I mean, that lends some credibility to me, for me, that they are, in fact, legitimate companies who are not just trying to grab some money and scoot and trying to insulate themselves while, when things burn down.
And things have burned down. Here's another interesting video. And again, courtesy all these videos of Mark that dug these up. And again, we had so many things to talk about, but what are you gonna do? We're not gonna get to them all, but this is another. I love this video too about Tether. Let's hear this.
The future of crypto at this point, Kyle?
I mean, the question is, what is Tether? Like, what is this $66 billion behemoth that has its headquarters at a small bank in the Bahamas that's literally a hop, skip, and a jump from Sam Bankman-Fried's lairs in Albany? You go see this building. I've actually walked into this building and saw a guy eating a sandwich, and I said, so this is where the $80 billion is? The question is, I've spoken with the top head traders of fixed income at some of the largest securities firms in the world who tell me we've never done one trade with Deltec Bank or Tether. And if you look at their balance sheet, they say that there is repos, treasuries, this and that on their balance sheet. Now, they also own precious metals and secured loans and things like that. But if there's an $80 billion or $66 billion now institution out there trading repos and treasuries, you'd assume that someone would find them. Now, I must caveat my statement with, I didn't talk to every single dealer in the world. So maybe there's a dealer out there that will claim they do business with Tether, but I haven't been able to find one. So I just wonder why. Like, what is the purpose of a stable coin when you have G7 currencies? The only purpose of a stable coin, in my opinion, is to be able to jump outside of U.S. and let's say IRS jurisdiction and lever yourself in trade and not report your earnings. And there is no other rationale for owning a stable coin.
Is there any other rationale that you can come up with, Mark, for owning a stable coin?
Well, if you don't have central bank digital currencies, if you don't have digitized fiat that you can use in these systems, then maybe, if it makes transactions smoother, faster, cheaper, maybe. I think that's actually the wrong question, though, about whether there's a need for one. The market will decide if there's a legitimate need for one or not. Clearly, there is enough of a need for them that they currently exist, and there's a lot of money being pumped into them, whether it's Tether or Circle or some others. The question is, are they in fact stable? Do they have the assets that they're backed by that give them that stability and protect them from any of the volatility in the marketplace? So there've been questions about, Tether, they, for a long time, they didn't show what they were holding. And then when they started revealing some, it looked like a lot of corporate paper, and some of that traced back to China, looked like they were holding Evergrande and other big real estate corporate bonds, which caused some concern. And then they said, okay, we're changing that out. We're going to other assets and all that. But you still have to take them at their word. And so in my mind, it's how do you know that it is truly stable and not just, a propped up house of cards?
Well, Yeah, what is it really backed with? I mean, I see the need for it too, especially if you want to be holding something that's non-fiat. It makes a lot of sense. I want to put this exchange. I don't know if you happen to catch this one on Twitter, but again, this is another one that I'd love to get your opinion on. But, let's go here. So John Deaton was saying, it's a long tweet thread, but I want to just cut to the chase. John Deaton was saying, ask yourself, why was Gary Gensler meeting with Sam Bankman-Fried and not Brian Armstrong or Jesse Powell from over there, from Kraken and over at Coinbase, respectively, even giving Gensler the benefit of the doubt? Why Sam Bankman-Fried and not the largest exchange in the U.S., which has a broker-dealer license? IG Crawford jumped in here and said, watch out, John. Charles Hoskinson is sitting back thinking you're making up another grand conspiracy. Right? Oh, wait a minute. John Deaton says, hey, I'm just posing questions. Like you said, I don't have to assume Gensler was doing anything wrong behind closed doors with Sam Bankman-Fried to ask why SBF have such an incredible access to regulators. Charles should be in there talking to regulators way before SBF. In my opinion, that's my point. Oh, who's this? Oh, wait. Here's Charles Hoskinson. You don't say. Charles Hoskinson says, well, I literally spoke before Congress this year. I've engaged with regulators extensively. What doesn't help is making an entire community believe that Joe Lubin bribed the SEC to go after Ripple. This madness damages any hope of a healthy relationship. Now, Mark, did that happen?
Did Joe Lubin bribe the SEC?
Yeah, I mean, what he's saying, what doesn't help, and he's inferring that what doesn't help is that what the XRP community was saying, or let's say John Deaton was saying or believing that Joe Lubin bribed the SEC to go after Ripple.
I mean, I have no idea if Joe Lubin bribed the SEC or not.
Who's saying it, though?
It is. Charles just said it. Nobody said it.
But he's inferring that we, the XRP community, are talking about that.
Well, because he's going back and prying open that ETHgate can again, which
much, yeah.
Which I don't know why he's being such a glutton for punishment. I like Charles. I think he's actually a brilliant guy.
Him. He's transparent
and
as hell.
I love listening to him. He is incredibly smart, well-read, and all that. I think he's just brilliant. I don't know why he's prying open that can of worms again. He got hounded so much
mercifully
for going after some of the Ripple folks and XRP folks. But his whole contention was they're unfounded conspiracy theories. And like we talked about before, you can have a theory that involves a conspiracy, but when the facts start painting a very clear picture that, in fact, it's not just a theory, but it's reality, okay, you're not some crazy conspiracy theorist anymore. And he would not let that go, and finally just said, look, let's agree to be friends, basically. Let's stop arguing about this. So then him jumping into this conversation with this thread with John Deaton and opening that issue again, seems a little masochistic to me. I don't know why he would do it.
Well, also too, I think he's got the narrative a little bit wrong. I think I don't ever remember anybody saying that somebody was bribing somebody. I remember, there's been other things around that. But again, if you're going to jump in, like you said, you should get it right. John Deaton said, well, once again, you speak without knowing the facts. If you read my tweets, you know that I said that I don't blame Lubin for seeking clarity or even a regulatory free pass. I said Brad Garlinghouse was doing the same, and I would have accepted it as well. My focus has been on Hayman.
Yeah, everybody who went in or tried to go in to see the SEC folks was looking for clarity. And if that clarity came in a no action letter, free pass, a public statement, whatever,
right,
they would be happy to take it so that they could get back to business. That's just smart. Now there's a difference between if you're colluding behind the scenes and you're trying to create a monopoly and you're trying to, shut other people out in the marketplace or throwing them under the bus or, trying to get the SEC to go after them. We don't know that full story yet. What we do know though is the Ethereum folks, Consensus and some others, essentially got a free pass, even though the SEC has backed away from Hinman's statement in the speech. The market reacted and the SEC has acted as if that was, in fact, a free pass. They have never gone after, as far as I know, an Ethereum-based token or any of the Ethereum-based projects. But they've gone after everybody else. So it looks like a free pass. It smells like a free pass. It's probably a free pass, at least in practice. Now, what kind of collusion was going on behind the scenes? Did any money pass hands? Who knows? You know,
It's
but
hard to know.
right. And we might never know, but but the result was you've got other players in the market who are being dragged through the courts for, 2 years plus. And, some are just giving up, and saying, okay, look, we can't afford to fight. We'll just pay a settlement and, we'll pay our fine and can we get back to business, please? Others that have deep enough pockets like Ripple are saying, no, we didn't do anything wrong. And we're not going to cave. So
that's another reason they might have filed against Ripple. They're the only ones that could have afforded to really put up a fight. And, when that first hit almost 2 years ago in 2020, Jeff and I had made the observation that maybe this will be the quickest way to clarity. And here we are almost 2 years later, and maybe it still is the quickest way to get some kind of clarity. But Hoskinson followed up with a free pass for Ethereum has zero material impact on the Ripple litigation, especially given that your argument is it would be a security, but they were bribed not to make it one. So what, both Ethereum and XRP are securities? Jesus Christ, man. But of course, no thread would be perfect without David Joel Katz Schwartz popping in. Now, this is interesting because this one saw a rare side of David Schwartz. David Schwartz said, do you really believe that Ethereum free pass has zero material impact on the Ripple litigation? The SEC could have adopted the position that XRP and ETH are both securities. The SEC could have adopted a position that neither XRP or ETH are securities. And then this is just a big, long thing, but they get into it quite a bit. But then Hoskinson said, had you guys followed Codius through its logical conclusion and built a decentralized app ecosystem, XRP would have gotten a pass. That wasn't bribery. This wasn't bribery. It was reality. Regulators picked the path of least resistance. Now, I kind of sense here, based on this comment, that he really struck a nerve with David here, because when he started talking about if he had finished Codius, maybe you would have got a free pass. And Schwartz says, hey, I hope you're just putting that forward as a description of what happened and not defending it as a rational course of action. And Hoskins said, hey, it's how the current game is played. The entire reason I entered the crypto space was to change the game because it wasn't fair or productive. Schwartz comes back and says, so I wanted to show someone how the game was played. One of the things I would show them is the Ethereum free pass, right? So Hoskinson, no, you show them the daily free pass that banks get on a multi-trillion-dollar scale. I guess the NSA had you in a bunker during 2008. Whoa. I mean, like, this is getting personal now.
Yeah.
Mark.
Yeah. No, it sounds like he's just deflecting and saying, well, look, this is how it's played in crypto because this is how it's played in traditional finance. And he's basically saying the reality is it's pay for play. And that if you can either pay your way in or you can build up enough of a community that they don't dare go after you because the backlash, would be so huge that it's just not worth the expense and pain, to try to prosecute you. Which doesn't, I don't know. You're either a security or you're not, and your offering is either a security or it's not. You're either following the rules or you're not. Ripple was following the rules. Here's the other thing that he's sort of dancing around. Ripple already has all the Hayman speech emails.
Right. Yes, they do.
And they fought really hard for those. And the SEC fought harder than anything else to avoid giving them over. So given all that effort to get them and to not give them up, what's the likelihood that in those emails and in those speech drafts, somebody makes a reference to whether or not XRP is a security or not security, just like, and included in the free pass, or conversely says, well, wait a minute, if XRP is a security, doesn't it make Ethereum a security? I'd bet huge money that one of those two statements is expressed somewhere in those 69 documents.
Why else would you keep it so secret? And also, we heard from Ripple itself. We heard from Stu Alderati. We heard from Brad Garlinghouse. Both of them had basically said, yep, and it was worth it too. It was worth the big fight. But again, talking about the NSA, David worked for the NSA. He says, Schwartz came back and said, you think it'd be easier to draw a line from that current state of crypto regulation than from the Ethereum free pass, the very thing you used to draw that line. That would explain the relevance of, for example, a digital decentralized app ecosystem, the thing you said was important. And they just go back and forth, and man, oh man, you seem like someone has benefited from umpiring. You agree, unfair, objecting. It's like, I want the best technologies to win, says David. They're competing on a level playing field. But this exchange kind of caught me off guard because it started off as one thing, and then David came in there, and the difference. I mean, John Deaton, from an attorney standpoint, defending 75,000 XRP holders and really defending all of crypto, as there's so much tied to this lawsuit. But then you have the actual guy that spent time. He actually logs. He's been at Ripple since the beginning. The guy who's the chief tech officer, right?
Right. One of the questions that I've wondered about all of this when Charles started getting involved in the engagements with John Deaton and other members of the XRP community is, why does he care so much? I mean, he dipped out of the Ethereum work pretty early on because differences of opinion, and he made it clear that he was gone pretty early on and why he left. And he's been really successful at building out his own platform and his own ecosystem. So why does he care so much about the Ethereum Ripple thing and those connections and the lawsuit, unless he feels some sort of threat?
You never know. It's hard to really know. I mean, we never will know, but I want to throw this out there. Colin Benson, again, thank you for that. He says, there is no other crypto company out there like Ripple. True statement. Brad Garlinghouse even told the clowns on Twitter Spaces to be transparent. Too many clowns and shadows out there. And, I think, Colin, thank you for that. But, what Colin's talking about is that just in the last 3 years, VC companies were giving huge, tens of millions of dollars to an organization with people that had like nicknames, like Crypto Bob and Nutjob Pete. It's like, and they're like, nobody knew who they were, nobody knew where they were based, but they ended up getting this money, and for these so-called projects. And it kind of really reminds us of the early .com days. But I just checked the time here, and man, we are over. But I just wanted to say, Mark, thank you for coming on today and filling in and pinch hitting here for Jeff, who joined us briefly. But I want to give you the last word as we get out of here tonight.
Keep your crypto off the exchanges. Keep them in the cold storage wallets. It's a dumpster fire out there. Just protect yourselves and keep the faith.
That's a beautiful thing to take us out of here. So guys, we will be back here on Saturday morning and of course Sunday. So we got the holidays coming up next week. I don't know what the schedule will be. Probably will be off next Wednesday because of the Thanksgiving holiday here in the United States. But again, I want to thank everybody. I want to thank all of you from the On the Chain family, a lot of OGs in the house, a lot of people who come in here pretty consistently. It does mean a lot to Jeff and I. We do really appreciate your support, because otherwise we're just two idiots talking. And I'm not going to put you in that, Mark, because you're one of the most brilliant guys I've ever seen.
I'm an idiot. It makes my head hurt just listening to you read what Charles and David were talking about, because I'm like, I got to get out my dictionary.
Yeah, right. So, but I will say this: if you guys aren't following Mark, go follow him on Twitter. He really puts out great stuff. By the way, there's very few people I get alerts on, and I have an alert. You ever notice how fast I respond to your tweets when I like them?
Absolutely.
Because I have an alert for you. So that's why he's one of the guys I have alerts for. And there's very few that fit into that category. Mark's one of them because he puts out good thought-provoking stuff, some good thought leadership. And if you want to know anything that's interesting going on, and again, all the things we looked at tonight, I said, Mark, bring some stuff. And Mark's like, bam, how about all this? So I want to thank you for that as well. So as we get out of here, guys, have yourselves a great rest of your week. And we'll see you back here on Saturday. So from Chiff, Jeff, and Mark, we are out of here. See you guys on the next one. Have a good one. Oh, someone had a request to play the old outro. I'll play the old outro, then I'll play the new one. Then we'll come back. Okay, see you guys here. This is for Sean Thompson the other night.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.
And of course, here's the new one.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.